Hey everybody, this is Grimcad, and we are here for some more Dungeons and Dragons, 5th edition. We are playing through Tomb of Annihilation, although obviously at this point a very heavily modified thing of Tomb of Annihilation. I am Grimcat. I am one of the players today. I am playing Riyadh Day, the Bee Druid. We're also joined by old player, new character, Damokos.
Yes, I am Demokos now because I have been playing Tomb of Get Annihilated.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
And today, last but not least, we are joined by Gypsy, who seems to be getting that last but not least an awful lot lately. Not just in this one, but my other as well.
I mean, this one, it's kind of understandable. You're handing it off to me, so why not put me last? And in the game, your game, this is Vidari, you usually start with me unless you decide to start at the other end, because I, for some reason, always seem to be right at the top of the list.
Fair enough.
Yeah. You read the list backwards on this episode.
Last week. But I guess I shall pick up where we left off, which is at the end of the war. We have we were successful and unsuccessful. You guys won your fights and your battles, and you survived, but your allies, the biting ants, didn't fare so well. At best case scenario, from what you can see, a few handfuls may have routed and escaped, but as far as you've seen, it was almost just a complete massacre. They were cut down by swaths and swaths of arrows and blow dart needles. It seems like shot down from the trees above. You are standing in the later hours of the evening on the remains of the battlefield. A lot of the adversaries that you were once fighting, the ones that can still move, are picking through the remains, finding their friends to drag off, same as any of your allies would be doing, and I imagine you too. What would you guys be liking to do?
So I think the last thing, like the last thing we were doing is we were going through and picking up people. I think we burnt a couple of heal spells on what few we could wind up saving of our allies. You know, the biting ants themselves. But
which I believe was that 3, maybe? No, I just rolled that earlier. No, what did we do with that?
That I'm not real sure, honestly.
All of a sudden. But yes, we can say you can use any spell slots. If you've already marked them off, it's fine. Otherwise, do so now.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I mean, like, I will burn all except for, one of each. So, 2 level 2s, 3 level 1s, and a level, 3. And what difference
do you have
it makes?
Anything? Demokos? Oh, I mean, with that amount, it's a fair bit of healing you can do. Plus, I suppose you have your good honey.
Yeah,
if you wish
that's
to
true.
use any of that. Although that wouldn't necessarily be used for saving people. Like, you'd be using the actual magic to save things in critical condition, and then be able to give, the ones that have snatched limbs or something, some good honey to make them feel a bit better. And yeah, with your combined efforts, I mean, even if you can't directly help through magic, Damokos, you could be bandaging and resetting wounds and stuff. You'd be able to gather a group of probably, let's see, 8 friendly fallen comrades from the ants and the boar tribes.
Mm-hmm.
So not a grand amount, but it's still better than a complete wash. And as I said, some would have routed and run away and everything.
Mm-hmm. At that point, the triage and all done, I think there's nothing for it but to head back to Yeliark, really.
I just realized you guys are still on the map. Sorry. I thought I dragged you back over to the other map, but that's fine. Just means you guys are already here. Well, someone give me that tasty survival check.
I'm at 4, so I'll pop. Yeah.
Yep. So I assume you're just beelining back to Yeliark.
Pretty much, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you and your small group are trudging through the forest. Quite a somber mood. Even if you survived, the losses were beyond heavy. You lost a lot of possible friends and other close relationships amongst the goblins. Not saying anything like that, of course. But I mean, you guys...
My goblin lover has died.
Gotta miss my little short stack. But no, you made all kinds of relationships, from friends to disgruntled enemies and everything within the goblins. Not every goblin would have been your best friend like Big Smart was, and you still haven't seen Big Smart during the past, night and day of traveling. But as you're walking, reminiscing on the battle just gone, you start noticing that the rain gets a little lighter. It's still ever present and quite heavy, but it's not quite the monsoon it has been the past week or two. And are we able to feed 8 plus 3, 11?
Yes, I mean, like this first day, perhaps not, because again, I sort of used all my spells to heal, but I mean, I can, conjure up good berry twice in order to feed people. That'll feed, 20 people.
Yeah. Well, we'll say for the first night.
And the first night I can just, dole out a couple of rations too. I still I have no problem doling out 3 rations or however many.
Yeah, well, if you can balance it so 11 are getting meals, then we won't take the exhaustion point.
Mm-hmm.
It'll just be a factor of remove those rations.
Actually, I do not apparently have any rations on me.
Well, that's kind of rough then, isn't
it? We could make a few gallons worth of mayonnaise, and people can eat some mayonnaise.
Well, give me a one of you give me a flat survival check with +2 to it, because the goblins would help as much as they could to try and forage some food and everything. If you want to spend the hour doing that, which,
sure.
I mean, the goblins would be, kind of pressing for. They're not quite halflings or hobbits with, needing 7 meals a day, but they would still like to eat after a big fight.
I probably got more wisdom than you, right? Maybe not.
I'd hope.
Yeah.
Good point. Good point. So yeah, we'll.
That's 15. Yeah. It wouldn't be a luxurious feast, but it'd be well enough to fill every member's bellies for the night.
Mm-hmm.
So we can travel on the next day without the disadvantage. So if you want to chuck us another survival roll for seeing if you get lost during the day.
Sure, and as I mentioned, I will, use 2 castings of...
This one can be done with advantage because you'd have the goblins helping you too.
Okay.
This is kind of their territory. Yeah, you blitz it. And then I assume you'd have the slots and be willing to just feed everyone for next night.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. Well, we can hand wave the last roll. You've traveled, these 6 tiles around Yell Yark enough by this point that you can consider yourself home by this point. Mm-hmm. It would still take another day to get back to Yell Yark, but we'll just jump to that point now. Which is where we come back. Walking into... There it is. And let me drag this. Yell Yark. It seems a lot less populated and lively as it has been in the past. Your friends are still there, mulling around, doing various things around the village, whatever they might be. And you can see the Queen on the far side of the village near the river talking to what, for all intents and purposes, appears to be the rest of the goblins in the area.
Does it look like it's just, this tribe, or does it look like it's more than one?
It's only biting ants that you can see.
Okay. Well, I don't think there's anything for it other than talking with her and getting it over, really.
Wait, are we close enough to hear what she's saying?
No, she's sort of just speaking to the group. She's not like shouting anything or anything, but she also doesn't seem to have huddled them up to have hushed whispers or anything like that. And as the other 2 may or may not walk past the group, it's not like she shies away from them or anything. It doesn't seem to be some secret discussion she's having.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'd go ahead and approach her.
And should stop her chittering and her goblin speak as you walked up and turned to look at you. And quite obviously she's been very upset recently. If you were to hazard a guess, you'd guess to the point of tears.
Mm-hmm.
She says, "You'll come back."
And, I would certainly have quite the dour look on my face as well. I mean, obviously I'm certainly not pleased at the loss, but yes, we're back. Some of us are.
Yeah, I heard it not go well for boys.
No, it didn't at all. Again, I'm not really well versed in the war things, but if my terminology is right, the flank collapsed that they were on, and it was not good.
I not know the war terminology ever. That was his big smart job.
I do know that the owls suffered worse than your lot did. I don't know if that makes anything better, but it's true.
She'd kind of give a half little shrug and better, maybe not, but maybe small goodness for me.
But
So
there are things in motion now as well that may not be the worst. Your tribe is smaller, but you've strengthened some friendships with your neighboring tribe. That could never be a bad thing.
maybe, but we also a lot weaker now. We probably go for a long walk and find new home now.
I just nod. That may be for the best. You would know better than I would.
You seen any good areas while out and about?
Well, I haven't actually seen the place yet, but before I was captured, I was looking for a place called Oralunga. We'd done some research and worked out a rough area of where it could be, but
And where would that
do you think that could be habitable?
be? Because all I know is that further south from here is crawling with the undead. I mean, we've been to some places, but I don't think certainly south is the way you'd want to settle your tribe.
So would I know what direction it is from here?
Probably not. Not without like finding. Give me a survival check to see if you can
Give us
judge
a
the
second.
trajectory of the moon and the sun, and see if it's at the bottom of the ocean.
Could you possibly roll one for me? It's not letting me open my character sheet.
I can do that.
I can see the map, but I can't open my character.
That's a pretty
You got an
good
18.
one. 18
That is
with a
a
minus
pretty
1.
good roll.
Yeah.
You'd know from where you are. Are you talking about Oralonga?
Yeah.
It would be more west than south, but still south a little bit, but far to the west. In the shade of the Mistcliff Mountains.
Well, it's pretty hard to get my bearings around here, but I would say a little bit to the south and quite a bit west after that. So a bit southwest, southwest west.
I don't. I think that's practically where they came from, is the west. I mean, I do suppose the owls are no longer as much of an issue. We haven't spent much time to the north following the river, but I recall it being relatively safe, although admittedly closer to the human towns.
Kind of be staring at you blankly through this whole talk of north and west.
I'd sort of, arms in the direction,
Yeah, like beyond the fact that they don't know directly themselves which directions which, you start getting the feeling that possibly they don't think of direction the same way as you either. They probably just do use more landmarks and go this way from this way. You certainly haven't seen any maps around the village, that's for sure. Or not clear maps like humans make.
Sure.
As far as I know, a map of Trout doesn't exist, right?
No, you would not know about that. Well,
I mean,
would you have been
unfortunately,
here
I wouldn't necessarily be, waving it around in front of, the new guy's face.
I do actually remember Grim saying something about hiding the map from when we first met.
You'd know that most of the maps that you could ever have found would be like, 2, maybe 3 tiles at most away from a main village or settlement like Nyanzaru, Belurian, or Righteousness or something. And really inaccurate.
Would it be too meta to say it's too bad no maps exist?
I mean,
not really.
A little bit, but not really.
Because that's what I was thinking. It's like I want to say it, but I'm not sure if that's like meta or anything.
Not really, because it's a reasonable thing to say in a situation like this. It'd more be, you can't really, not with something like that.
Yeah. Depending.
It's more
Sorry.
Would Grim let the new person know about the map yet?
Not just yet. I mean.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Which is, completely reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it is really priceless.
Even though it's a jerk move out of character. Depending on which way you go, though, I don't think I would mind traveling with you and with the tribe. There are some things that I wish to do. I can't help but feel some measure of guilt, and we've been here for so long, and even still there's more that I'd like to do to you, with you.
Grim, we're not taking it there, man.
No. I was thinking and hoping that some of you might have an aptitude for, or might be able to do my kind of magic, and that I could pass some of it along.
We not really magic. What do you mean your magic?
Well, my magic, it's different than what I think the owls do, or my new friend here does. My magic, it comes from a connection with nature, with the forest, the environments, and the surroundings. It's a connection to the earth, to the world. It's somewhat hard, surprisingly hard to put into words, but it's not studying, it's feeling this connection and learning about the connection. It's not something that you're born with. It is something you can learn.
So you feel nature?
Well, yes, to an extent.
And she kind of sit on her haunches a bit and kind of ponder it for a second. Or
I, I, I mean, I don't know. I don't think any of us really feel nature past, like, touching and stuff. If you think there's someone in tribe like you, then you feel free to talk to them.
Well, I think that would help a lot if we could, as we're going to a new place, taking a walk, as you put it. We'd have plenty of time, and while not everyone can do it, like I said, it's something you can learn to do. I learned to do it.
Fair enough.
you can tell she's kind of unsure about it, but at least receptive to the idea.
Yeah, she probably hasn't really seen too much of like my magic other than making some bees, really.
Yeah, no, that is another factor too.
Yeah. I mean, that said,
But yeah, I mean,
either.
if you're just thinking about with the ants and everything like that, they literally train the ants like you would a dog. That's how they control the ants. Like, it's not a connection to
no, like I wasn't
thing.
thinking like anybody really came out and like, oh yeah, that's a druid in training. I was literally just hoping, like, talking to people, somebody could show that they have that. Again, it's Riyadh feeling, sort of guilty over this all and wanting to do more.
Well, should be, like I said, receptive to the idea, if a bit wary of it. What would you be doing through all this, Davokos?
Not really a lot. I'd probably just be standing around listening to the conversation. I don't really have anything helpful to add to it, so yeah, I don't think I'd be off doing anything else. It's more of a morning time.
Fair enough.
At some point, I would probably ask, Flask and River if they knew of any locations where it would be reasonable for, the goblins to settle down, which,
They,
go ahead.
They would kind of just...
Yeah, what I expected, but...
Well, honestly, I mean, they're civil enough. They could go up near Nyanzaru and possibly flourish from some extra protection from being closer to the city. I mean, there's a lot less really big, nasty dinosaurs closer to the city, at least.
That's true.
And a more civil tribe that is less likely to raid and pillage the outskirts of the city, they're less likely to be hunted and ostracized and pushed out by the guard.
Those are all... It's not a bad point. Have you ever thought about something like that, Grubstank? Moving closer with the humans and maybe dealing with them a bit more on more friendly terms?
Honestly, no. I mean, we don't exactly deal with a lot of humans or other races. Like, we kind of just... We're nice and we're friendly and everything, but at the same time, like, it's only because you guys were nice to us first. A lot of the time, humans, quite often, they have their their pre-issues with us.
Prejudices, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Perhaps just moving somewhat closer to the place.
You should give a not super earnest, but a good nod to that.
I think that's not a bad idea. And again, you can take smaller steps if you wish to, talk with people, other people, that is. No need to rush this kind of thing. I'm sure some of your people might be a little leery of it, the idea.
Run straight into the middle of Nine Zaru, just trying to be friendly.
Yeah.
Not speaking a lick of common, so it's just a bunch of gibbering goblins running through the middle of the city.
Oh god, that's right. We'd have to teach them common.
Yeah.
or the tiefling translator.
Grabstab's probably like one of the only ones in the village currently that can actually speak common.
Yeah.
At least fluently enough to have a conversation.
Right.
But
There were more.
Oof.
yeah, there were.
And look where it got him.
Is there anything anyone else would wish to speak to the Queen about immediately?
I mean, I would ask probably at some point whether, Big Smart's been seen or anything.
Should quietly shake her head no.
Well, no news is sometimes good news. He's tough.
Little hopeful smile, and
I hope so. If he's still alive, he'll be okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
He seemed pretty cool, that Big Smart.
another slow, almost happy, remembering smile, reminiscent smile. That's a better choice of word as opposed to sloppy words. But if there was nothing else that you guys would directly wish to talk about,
No.
after some...
But out of character. So do we take the guardian statue with us?
I know. Have you found any kind of operating mechanism or anything, or are you just taking an 800-pound statue with you?
I mean, we got a lot of goblins with nothing to do.
How would you even go about finding a control mechanism?
Well, incidentally, the rogue knew better how to do that than the sorcerer. No,
As
remember,
a sorcerer, I have one idea, and I don't know if that'll work. But can I cast Identify on the thing?
I mean, you could cast it on the guardian, and it would tell you that it's a shield guardian. Or cast it on the statue, and it'd tell you that.
Oh my god. Like, I know the answer is no, because I was there for it, but nobody has cast, like, Detect Magic on anything in the village.
No.
You just hit me, like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, no, people have been doing, like, eye searches and arcana searches. No one's had the ability to be like, hey, find me some magic.
I don't actually have Detect Magic.
How do you not have Detect Magic? I mean...
If Demokos could cast Identify like 10,000 times, he could identify you.
I mean, I have Detect Magic, for one. Now that I've thought about it, yes, I will be casting Detect Magic.
Can I just ask the Queen to gather up all the necklaces so I can identify them
I don't
all?
know how concentration 10 minutes, yeah. So, casting it, walking around.
Incidentally, almost the second you cast it, you feel the faint pull of a magic aura coming from around the Queen's neck.
God damn it.
Oh man, the funny thing is I've known that for so long.
Ugh.
It's like, but how can you do anything about that without actually measuring it if
Yeah.
you actually know? Like so I was really stuck there.
As you follow the pull of the magic to follow where it's coming from, you can see a collection of various wooden and stone totems as necklaces on the Queen's neck, hanging around her chest. And you see one in particular that almost seems to, with the detect magic, not quite glow, but you see some sort of force emanating around it.
Man, I'm so unhappy with myself.
That is so amazing, though.
Queen, you're carrying a necklace that is magical. May I see it?
And she'd kind of like put her hands under the collection of necklaces and lift them up for you to select which one it is.
Sure, and I would.
And you'd be able to select it out and take it off her easy enough. And
Damikos, could you identify this for me?
I believe I can, and I'll start getting a ritual ready to cast Identify.
Yep, and after the 10 minutes or whatever it is to ritual cast it, you'd go over the necklace, and the round disc of woods, polished smooth by years of just being worn, you can see a faint groove that traces out the name Vaughn. But as you're casting Identify over it, the words almost seem, or the glyphs and the runes almost seem to reshift and move into the opposite configuration. So instead of VORN, it's NROV.
Well, first of all, wait, would I figure out what it is? Because like I'd say the I'd say the words, but I'd figure out.
I didn't think I needed to literally spell it out for you, but yes, it is the amulet for a shield guardian.
We have to make sure.
Probably the shield guardian standing 40 feet away from you, or however far that is.
Well,
90 feet.
I would say the word Vaughn.
With Vaughn, nothing would happen.
And then I would say Norv. Is that how you pronounce the backwards way?
Well, when you said Norv, nothing could happen. Give me a...
Or is it Nurov?
Well, that's the thing. We will give it a... You know what? Let's go a persuasion check. DC 12 persuasion check to pronounce the odd word. Because it's, as I said, it's runes. It's not even necessarily a language that exists, or at least that you understand. But with the Identify spell, you kind of work different phrases and syllables and spend the time going over it until you can give me the persuasion, and we'll see if you get it. And with a 24, you would
Gosh,
manage to say
you're
the...
such a persuader.
Well, a sorcerer's
Yeah.
magic is charisma, so I'm good at.
So yes, you would be able to pronounce it, and whilst pronouncing it, you'd watch as from across the makeshift village tent area, the shield guardian would give a judder and its legs would straighten out a little, causing it to stand a good couple of feet higher.
Oh, I didn't even see that over there.
Good job, Damokos.
So I guess that's what this does.
Yes, apparently. Do you know how to control it?
Well, I would assume, and I hold the amulet up and say, walk forward.
And it would follow your instructions. It would just start walking.
Oh, ask it to stop, please. Now!
Okay, stop.
And yes, it would stop just before hitting the infirmary tent, where there seems to be one nurse goblin who walks out looking very panicked as this, quite honestly, compared to her giant, is about to come walking through her triage.
Would it work if you spoke to it in Goblin? Do you know?
Then I would say, come towards me in Goblin.
And it would...
Be careful with your words. Make sure it doesn't...
You would notice it would... Jake would have to step out of its way, but it seems to... It looked like it would have walked straight through him itself, but it moves itself around the tents that seem to have a wall for it. You have the feeling that if it were to possibly walk into an open tent, it might keep walking, but it sees it as an obstacle or something like that, so it does move around them. And I just realized that, Damokos, you're over there, but I would assume you were.
Yes, I would be over by Riod.
And it would stop 10-15 feet away from you and look down, looming down above you.
Have you ever felt very silly before, Damokos?
Many a times. Why do you ask?
I feel very silly right now. And it sort of recounts sort of the telling of what's behind this thing, the significance behind it, what we've gone through, and how, like, this thing has been the catalyst of this entire, goblin war, and that I just now thought about, casting detect magic.
So this thing is a goblin god?
Well, yes. I mean, as you can see, it's a shield guardian. We determined that much before. But the goblin tribes had been worshipping it as a god, which I suppose might not be too far off for them.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but would that not have meant that if, and I'm going to say this really quietly, if we had taken that with us and had it fight for us, the others would have probably not fought against their god?
Give me perception checks quickly.
Yeah.
It's locked me out of my character sheet again.
That's fine.
Sorry.
I will roll for you.
Because doing this on a mobile device is not very reliable.
got 12. So, Riod, you in particular would notice this, and as you would possibly turn to look at it, so would Demikos. But you notice behind you the goblins are reacting in different ways. Some of them are prostrating themselves and almost seem to be bow praying to the statue, while the queen and a couple of others almost seem to break down into tears. Although these don't seem like the tears and wails of possibly creatures or beings that are seeing their god come to life. It's almost a hopelessness.
What's wrong? What's the matter?
I'm not going to
Sure.
roleplay a blubbering, fucking crying goblin, so I'm just going to quickly patch over what is said and everything. But you make out between sobs and tears that the queen and these other ones have come to the realization that basically their entire belief system has just been blown apart by you guys. Their god is no more a god than the construction that they rig into the trees to send their village flying. It's a creature that can be made and controlled, and that isn't quite processing correctly in their little goblin minds. The rest of them, it's their god come to life to them as far as you can see.
Yeah.
As for the other ones, Queen included, you've basically just given them the biggest existential crisis of their goblin lives.
Yeah.
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 So about these shield golems, if I remember correctly, they can do magic?
Let's put a pause on that for now. I think we'll have some more time to explore things later on. I do want to say, I think not to get to get things out of the way, that we should not be keeping this. This belongs to the tribe.
I'm sorry, I cut off like halfway through what you were
sorry.
saying. What do we not do?
That we won't be taking this with us. This belongs to the tribe.
And then after you said that, I would.
What's that?
After you said that, I would look a little bit disappointed. I'd look a little bit disappointed and give you back the amulet.
What'd you say, 420?
I said, I'm glad a player said it so I don't have to.
Right.
I don't mind a slightly unbalanced game, but I ain't giving you guys a shield guardian.
What are these goblins gonna do? Stop us? And I hold the thing high.
They won't, but the undead T-Rex might have a word or two to say about it.
Can you imagine? I mean, I would attempt to not exactly console, Grubstink, but certainly help her work through it, Riyadh's not much of a believer himself. I mean, again, I constantly say it in all my D&D games, in D&D, belief isn't really a thing. I mean, the gods are there, unless you're stupid, But, he's not a worshiper of the gods himself,
Yeah. There's a difference between believing something exists and believing in that thing. And yeah, I mean, it might take some time, anywhere between 20 minutes, half an hour to an
Sure,
hour or
sure.
so before she's at a point where she can talk a bit more straight and everything. But you managed to console her, and possibly even a couple of the others with her. The enraptured ones are exactly, for them, it is their god come
Mhm.
to Earth and walking in front of them. It is the best day of their lives. They would go up to it, but they would be keeping a good 5 foot distance from it at all times. Like any chance of it moving forward or anything like that, and they would be far enough away that there would be no chance it would touch them.
Mhm. And I would want to
Tell it to make sudden movements.
hold on to the control amulet for now until, Grubstank is in a better state of mind for, the conversation, the great responsibility conversation we're going to be having,
That's fine. But the rest of the night would be spent talking and doing the usual with the camp. A couple of extra goblins might walk in throughout the night, finding their way through the jungle, but it remains pretty quiet and peaceful, quite somber. All of the various goblins seem to be burps. Dealing with whatever they've got to deal with, both in the world, in the village, and in their own mind as well. I don't know if anyone would, but if you happen to ask where the rest of the goblin children and the rest of the non-combatant goblins were, you would get told that they would have been sent off to the subsects of the tribe, to the smaller villages for safety and everything, and to keep the numbers as even as possible across the entire tribe system, I guess, or tribe family tree.
Excuse me.
And the next morning would come by. What would people like to do on the next morning? Or I guess, how long... What do people want to do in the Goblin Village before we move on from here and say goodbye to the ant? Or
Well,
the
as far as I'm concerned, and I would like to, tick my major boxes. I would like to help them resettle somewhere. I would like to, obviously help Grubstank learn how to use this shield guardian, and what I can do to mentally prepare herself to, command what was once her god around. And again, I would like to sort of go over with the villagers and see if any of them have an aptitude for druidish magic, and if I could teach them some of the basics.
Demikos?
I don't know.
As far as
I'd probably.
Damikos goes, I would try to include him with things as well. I mean, it's obvious he's more or less proven himself, at the very least capable. So it's, certainly not a bad idea to try to foster a relationship, even if, I don't trust him enough to show him the map.
And I'm sure Jake would do the same too, as with the twins. Again, it's not necessarily the fact of trust; it's the capability. He's proven himself, if nothing, capable.
Yeah.
Would I know the exact method of getting the Shield Guardian to use magic? Because I think it would be common knowledge that they can cast, but.
I mean, it wouldn't be common knowledge, but seeing as you're a bit more studious and have actually spent time in books and everything like that over your younger years, you would have found out some extra stuff. So I'm not going to say no, you don't know. They know spell storage and everything like that. But it would probably take you weeks, if not a month, to figure out the exact process of how to infuse the spell into the golem or the guardian without actually just casting the spell at the guardian. Like, you can't just cast a 4th level fireball at it and expect it to just absorb it. You've got to actually infuse it into it and everything like that.
Take this.
Yeah, well basically what I wanted to do was be able to give it a spell for the Queen to use, but
No.
if I can't figure out how to do that, well then no, that's not what I'm going to do.
Basically, between what the two of you would know from general hearsay knowledge about magical artifacts and creatures and machinations like this and everything, and the small parts that you, Damokos, might know from extra study and everything, you would be able to tell the basics of...
Can I stop you real quick, like right in the middle of something?
Yeah.
What is it? Voldorf's magical menagerie guide have information on it?
Oh, Volos.
Volos, yeah.
I mean, technically yes, but as the rulings for the book, as per the rules and everything, is that it is basically I just get to give you the sheet, the monster sheet. So I can show you the monster sheet so you can see its attacks, its HP, and everything like that. It's just a compendium. It's not a direct, this is how this thing is made with blueprints and layouts and magical infusion processes and everything like that.
All right, well, sorry for interrupting then.
No, that's fine. That's fine. So yeah, you'd be able to tell her, and again, like you said, between actually teaching her and kind of getting her over the fact that she's now in control of, for all intents and purposes, a god in their eyes. You'd spend the better part of the day with Grabstab, teaching her, talking over it and everything, its limitations, what can and can't be done. And you would essentially just be giving her a golem to use. There'd be no special spell storage. They don't have magic in their tribe or anything. She can tell it to walk here, carry this, do this, basic commands, and, defend the village and stuff like that. Good news is it survived the test of time already, and chances are it would take quite a powerful goblin or something a lot more powerful than a goblin to do lasting damage to it. So it's probably going to be a well-used gift.
Yeah. And, obviously, Riyadh would feel good about that. So, even if during this intervening time, however long it takes, if he can't find a student to sort of shove into the way of, druidic knowledge, he would be satisfied with,
Yeah. And that was the next thing I was going to get to, was none of them would have any real pressing urges or needs or wants for the druid crafts and everything like that. Again, it's very much more ant husbandry and training as opposed to some actual connection with the ants. They're not going to call these particular ants that they've got at this village across, miles to bring them to the village. They'll just train a new lot of ants or a new couple of hives of ants whenever they move on. The Queen would also end up saying that she has decided to at least attempt your suggestion at finding some of the human tribes or one of the larger settlements and trying to at least live a bit closer to them and set up more of a civil hospital situation between them, so they're not having to live these more tribal lives and everything. I mean, you get the feeling they're still very much going to be tribal goblin tribe, but they're going to at least attempt
Yeah.
And you might hear of them again in the future.
Yeah. Hopefully not of their deaths.
Yeah.
These dang old uppity
Right.
goblins trying to settle next to our city.
With that, we will have a quick smoke break and refill drinks and everything if people
Mhm.
wish. And then we will continue the adventure. The Goblin War arc.
Yeah.
Is laid to rest.
This whole internet thing is driving me mad.
That's fair enough. Or we could just leave it there as a short round for today, just as a closer for the Goblin arc. If your internet has been too much of a pain, Fraser.
Oh no, because I can work. I can work around it on the tablet. It's just I haven't been able to connect it to my computer, and I've been trying to do that in the background ever since.
What's up here? I'm sure Grim doesn't mind either way either.
I don't. I really don't.
And like I said, I didn't have any major plans for anything today. It was just fluffing around, clearing up this last goblin stuff, and then if you guys wanted to continue doing something,
Yeah, and
do something else.
as for I'm fine leaving it off here, and with
Yeah.
the idea that preparation for next week is to go really searching for some ruins and whatnot.
Yeah. Start the adventure properly. And
Right.
well, we've had a
Whatever.
side story arc. We don't need
Yeah.
to focus on these for too long. We've focused on this Goblin War for a good 2 months now.
Yeah.
One of these days, you'll let slip that you have a map, and I can point out where I want to go on it.
Mhm.
No general location.
Yeah, but I could at least point at the map.
And I mean, Grim or me can talk to Emerald and see if they're keen on joining us next week, and I can write them in or something.
Yeah, I can have a word with her.
Or anyone else. We'll try to get another player in, because two people.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have at least one other person.
I got someone that I might be able to talk to as well. I don't think you've met them, but they're a pretty cool person.
So good. We can
You wouldn't know.
sort
They're
that
cooler
out
than
during
you.
the week.
They're one of my cool friends, Gypsy.
I'm sorry, have I never given you shows like in the supermarket parking lot when some guy's been on his phone? Have I not given you a show that you could have sat back with popcorn and watched?
I mean, you definitely did that, but you didn't come around the other day and watch The Mummy 1999 starring Brandon Fraser with me.
Yeah.
Oh well, we shall let Grim sign the early day.
Yeah, I think, this was a short one, but I feel pretty satisfied with this one, We came to the end of an arc, and it closed in a meaningful way. I feel incredibly stupid for, until the literal very end and not even thinking of casting Detect Magic, but, there you go.
That was pretty supreme.
Man, and I would have never thought of it if I wasn't making like a stupid out of character joke about whether we're gonna bring it with us too.
And I couldn't have said anything about it because it was just like if I knew like it was too mattery if I knew anything about it. It's like so I just left that.
Yeah, as far as Damokos knew, it was just a statue in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, but it
like as big as Badass, it's like I didn't even say that because I'm not like it's pretty big. But if I wasn't paying attention, I could have completely overlooked it.
But still, I enjoyed it. I even enjoyed my being stupid.
That was great. Great.
I
was hoping someone would figure it out before.
Oh, I'm sure you were just like,
"Hey guys."
Oh, isn't that always the worst?
It's like It's funny. I was just thinking, wouldn't it be funny if I did actually cast a fireball at it to try and store one in there, actually backfired, and then killed the rest of the goblins?
Oh goodness.
No, it would have just face checked the Bible.
The shield guardian turns evil. Like, crap. But yeah, either way, it was a good session. I enjoyed it. If you've been watching, thanks for watching, and I certainly appreciate it. Give me them likes and subscribes. And if you haven't been watching, of course, as now is my phrase, you should have been watching. I hope you all have a great day, and peace out.
Take it easy, everyone.
Bye.